I have one more clip I want to play.
Jonathan.
I have one more clip I want to play from Ross Braun, because Pat Simmons talked about this in his clip a few minutes ago, talking about how the sustainability is such a big goal of Formula One, and they have a huge task ahead of them trying to help formulate a sustainable fuel that can run in regular road cars. There are existing 2 billion road cars that are out there now. And this is Ross Braun talking about that.
We all know this massive environmental challenge we're all facing. And, you know, I know from my experience in Formula One, if you set the 10 teams a challenge and make it competitive challenge. So what we're discussing is sustainable fuels. So in 2026 at the latest, and maybe even earlier, you will have to race with a sustainable fuel. In other words, a net carbon zero fuel. So the way that fuel is made, it's produced, has to be net carbon zero. And this will be a plug-in fuel that you would be able to put into a road car. We believe that Formula One can set an example of how a sustainable fuel can be created and used. And that's the big thing we're working on now. So sustainability and the assistance and solutions we can find for the environmental challenge is the next phase of Formula One. And that's actually why we're seeing manufacturers take a much stronger interest in the sport, because they can see the value of that involvement. And it's no secret to say Volkswagen with Porsche and Audi having a very close look at Formula One, and that's one of the reasons why they're interested. And I think there'll be more. So that's our next. So there's no rest for the wicked, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm. I know you're chomping at the bit, Jonathan. That last part. Yes, I would love for them. I'd love for them to make sustainable fuels for road cars. It'd be great. The engineers and chemists and whatever are struggling with that. But that part about VW and Porsche, and obviously we know why VW's involved, wants to be involved because of their Dieselgate. But what were you going to say, Jonathan?
Well, I mean, there's two things. One, Formula E has proven that the manufacturers vote with their feet. You know, the last 20 years, the last 10 years has all been about electric for every manufacturer out there, which is why the Formula E championship, the electric championship, took off, and it was backed by the likes of BMW, Mercedes, and Porsche. So I think an Audi. So the point is, you can't run a combustion series today, in this day and age, without trying to be sustainable. For example, COTA has the only sustainability officer currently, and that was a real wild step. But I think, this goes back to the F1 to production cars, which is if F1 can develop sustainable synthetic fuels which are less carbon, potentially hydrogen, or at least less carbon emission, and also they have set a goal of 2030 as being carbon neutral, which is again a weighty thing for a company that rides around the world for 23 countries with about 600 people in tow, and then races over 3 days. It's going to be a hard task, but they've got to be seen to be doing it. Otherwise, the next generation of people would be absolutely aghast when the whole world is trying to save the planet and Formula One is just running around with combustion engines, not caring. It's literally the whole soul of Formula One in the future. They have to address it. Tobacco is gone. Good. Now let's get sustainable.
Absolutely. We've got a comment in from Facebook, and Kevin Kelly says the same. Can't get rid of the internal combustion engine. Agreeable. Adrian Newey, went out to the Extreme E race and was looking at several things around that, but he's also one of the ones raising the idea of a hydrogen combustion engine in Formula One. So it's on the path. With a name like that, the probability is pretty high.
Yeah, this is a big deal. I'm not going to put it past Formula One to be able to make this happen.
Hey, John, if we had hydrogen cars, would I have to do would I have to suck hydrogen and do the commentary?
That's helium. Helium.
Oh, helium. Oh, sorry. I don't know me chemicals.
You're confusing hydrogen
Didn't
and
sound
helium.
that way.
I've never sucked hydrogen. What's that taste like?
I don't know. I don't. You got me there. All right. On that note, we're going to take a break because when we come back, we have a young race driver that's going to join us. Very excited to have a young driver on the show. And we'll be back after a quick break.